Hello from Hong Kong. We're going to try to make this live stream work for more than 12 minutes with audio on YouTube. It worked last night. It's not working on Facebook. The audio cuts out after about 11 minutes, 39 seconds or so. So this is Friday night in Hong Kong, and I'm obviously walking up some stairs. These are the different years where the Olympics was in different countries. Oh, let's see here. 1936, Berlin. 1936, Berlin. Interesting. Alrighty. And Tokyo, Mexico City, Munich. What if something bad happened when the Olympics happened in Germany? Let's see. 1992, Barcelona, Atlanta, Sydney, Athens, Beijing. Someone has crossed out Beijing. Who would have thought? Well, it could be, they could just write in Berlin. A lot of companies don't have to wonder what they would have done in, say, 1938 with, if they were dealing with Nazi Germany, because they know, because they're dealing that way, like Tim Cook at Apple is doing with, let's stand up here for a minute, is doing with China now, with removing an application that the patriots here in Hong Kong, I'm in Hong Kong now, Hong Kong Island, have been using to track the movement of police who have been brutalizing people in front of this camera right here. Please share out this link right now. We're having a problem using Facebook as per normal, and unless people know that we're on YouTube, nobody will be here tomorrow when I live stream from Action, right? It'll just be a few of us, a couple handfuls of people, and nobody sees it. So please, if you're on my Facebook, put this link over to my Facebook now. If you are, I've already put up a link, but if you put it up and tell people and ask people to subscribe, hit the bell. There's a bell on YouTube. You can see it down there under the streaming video on the right-hand side, I believe. If you click that bell, it will alert you whenever I go live. So if you can help people do that, I would greatly appreciate it, because we're just having so many problems with Facebook, and that we're going to have to find other ways. It's a constant battle with Facebook. It doesn't really matter which platform you go to. When you listen to people, they'll say, I told you this, told you that, told you that. It's whatever, man. Every platform you go to is similar dramas with censorship, similar dramas with everything, really. Tech problems, censorship problems, demonetization. Monetization is like, I see a lot of people have made fortunes like on YouTube channels and stuff. And as soon as they say something that YouTube, the gods of YouTube don't like, boom, they're out of business. So that entire business model is based on the whims of basically some faceless monkey that you can't see somewhere, who, you've offended. Or maybe you've just offended an algorithm. Or maybe it's just a glitch in the system. Maybe it was just, an asteroid strike, and then you're out of business because you've built your business based on the whims of others who can control you. I'm sorry, I'm stuffing a hat in my bag here, and then we'll get this going again. So let's see if this audio goes for more than 13 minutes. If you leave comments, I should be able to see them. I don't see any comments coming in. Let's see. Okay, I see a comment. I think this looks better, Trevor says. Thanks, Trevor. And if you can put this on Facebook, on my Facebook and on yours, audio is still good. Thanks, Keith. And please tell people that we're live streaming here, and to hit to go to this link and hit the bell so that they get automatic updates when I go live. And as you know, I try not to go live unless I have something either important going on or have something worthwhile to say. Right now, I'm just testing to make sure that the audio is going to work long enough, and I'll answer any questions. But as I was saying earlier, on Facebook. This has been going on now since June, and there's been a lot of abuse by the police, a huge amount, broken bones, huge amounts of tear gas fired in neighborhoods, tons. It's unbelievable. And I literally mean probably literally in the tons, like by weight. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they'll do it in residential neighborhoods where there's children and in the apartments and elderly people and people that can't get out. It's amazing. In the area of hospitals and schools, it's stunning. I mean, it's just like something only a China Nazi or a Nazi would do, sort of thing, or somebody in, somewhere in some faraway Asian or African country that you wouldn't expect here. Because Hong Kong has historically been known as one of the most civilized places to live in the world. But then one thing that you find about as you go through life is we often can't tell how civilized a place really is until the stress hits. Because until there's stress, you don't really know what the fiber is, how strong the fiber of that, because it could be just a veneer, of course. So, yeah, let's see. But what we are finding is that the young Hong Kongers, who a lot of people thought were weak, or just basically, what we call in America mall rats, people that run around in the malls all the time, they're actually turning out to be very strong. They're actually turning out to be very strong and very smart and very dedicated, focused. They're inspiring, these young people here. This is not a total young people movement. That would be untrue. But the representation by young people, even a 12-year-old was arrested. A 14-year-old boy got shot in the leg by a policeman a couple of weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago. 18-year-old shot in the chest as well with a bullet. Huge amounts of young people arrested constantly. And some of them get right back out on the streets. I mean, they're just like, and they're getting hurt when they get arrested. Trust me, you've seen some of my videos. The police are brutal with a lot of the people that they arrest. Very brutal. Continue to beat them while they're down. You can see it on my videos. You can see it on other people's videos. Don't take my word for it. But as you can see, I'm live streaming like this when I go to the action. In fact, where we're at right now is the scene of a lot of action. This is Victoria Park. This is where a huge amount of protests actually begin, and then they'll march that way down the street for miles and go down to places like Admiralty, which you can see on Google Earth. Throw petrol bombs over by the Legco near the People's Liberation Army headquarters, which you can see on the header of my Facebook. The young men throwing petrol bombs. That's right next to the People's Liberation Army headquarters. You can see the People's Liberation Army headquarters right in that video. It's just meters away from it. So they'll often start right here and march. See, like the 2 million people march, much of that started right here, actually, at this place called Victoria Park. Anyway, we'll keep going, keep walking. There's a lot of smaller actions that were going on tonight, and there's maybe actions going on now, but they're going into the Patriots are going into more of a clandestine mode on a lot of things, and even covert. When I say clandestine, there's a difference between covert and clandestine. You can look it up and see the differences. But with, for instance, in the clandestine would be something like Stuxnet. Stuxnet, the attack on the Iranian centrifuges in their nuclear facilities. That was supposed to be clandestine, until U.S. government talked about it. And so, but I mean, it was pretty clear that it must have come from the United States or Israel or both or something. But so when something is clandestine, often they don't know that an operation actually occurred. They might not even see any symptoms that it occurred. In Stuxnet, they saw the symptoms. They saw their centrifuges falling apart. Actually, there's a great book on it you might want to read called Countdown to Zero, or let's see, Countdown to Day Zero. Anyway, it's a great book. I read it. and it talks about some of the software vulnerabilities that were exploited in the way that somehow we managed to get the virus into the system. And it's a very complex virus, very highly weaponized, and can be used against us now, just modifying the how it operates. So that was clandestine. You could see, I mean, Iranians could clearly see something happened. They didn't necessarily know that it was even an operation. Although at some point it became obvious it was an operation when the virus was actually found. I think in Belarus, right? Somebody found it. May have been a Russian guy. I don't remember who found it, but it was. Then they realized it was a virus. So that was clandestine. Other clandestine could be, say, biological warfare, where you don't want the opponent or enemy to actually know that it was done. For instance, swine flu. I mean, I'm not trying to start a conspiracy theory, but China has a big swine flu problem now that's costing them a lot. There's no doubt that many Chinese are going, America did it, Or when I was in Afghanistan, I was in this farmer's field with it was an opium, it was a poppy farm. They're making opium, of course. And the farmer told me, it was a Pashtun guy, he said, he showed me the aphids on his poppy plants, and he said, the Americans are coming at nighttime with helicopters and putting these bugs on our plants. And I said, no, we're not. And I said, we're not that smart. And he laughed and he goes, you're right, you're not that smart. And so anyway, but that would have been, something clandestine. But so one of the things that Carrie Lam and the Chinese government, I'm talking about in China, Carrie Lam is, of course, Hong Kong. Let's actually rewind the tapes a bit. China has been doing covert and clandestine operations against the United States for years and years and years. Just open, really warfare for those of us who pay attention. For those of us who pay attention, it's plain as day. And there are really a lot of us who pay attention. It's not like there's 10 of us. It's like, it's got to be 100,000. There's a lot of us paying attention. And in fact, years and years ago, it was U.S. military officers that were telling me to pay closer attention to China. That was a long time. That was before the Iraq War and all that. They were saying, you really need to study China now because it takes a long time to study up, and and sooner or later we're gonna face them off, and you need to be studied up on it. So in part that's why I started studying up, and I really kicked it into high gear in 2014. It was clearly coming to a showdown, and but the Chinese have been doing clandestining. Because, for instance, espionage is generally clandestine, the clandestine services, right? Because you don't know that they're actually even doing the operation. They're using, listening devices or whatever. Or in this case, you can see I'm at the Tao Hin MTR station. You'll see this camera up here. The Patriots have been destroying these cameras. You can see the camera here, but the Patriots have been destroying these. They'll have facial recognition, of course, software that the MTRs have been shutting down early because there's a de facto. Actually, is that one even operating? That one's broken actually. So that one's actually broken because Patriots have taken care of that. But they can put listening devices in those and put listening devices in every one of these street posts if they want to, everywhere. And so how this goes. That would be clandestine. But one of the things, going back to that, now that you've got millions of Hong Kongers that are wildly anti-Chinese communist, I mean, they're as anti-Chinese communist as I am, and that's pretty wild. They're in offices around the world, in universities around the world, and they can do freelance items on their own unsponsored, that nobody will ever know about, you know, causing a glitch in a system somewhere. You know, these sorts of things will really add up over time. And there's a lot of Hong Kong patriots all over the world who can return favors in ways that nobody will ever know except one person that did it. And there's a lot of people in those positions. Reroute mail, do all sorts of nasties. So yeah, so these conflicts have many, many faces. So many faces that nobody can count. Any questions? I don't see any comments coming up, but I want to see, okay, we've been streaming now for 15 minutes and 47 seconds, and I don't see any audio dropout comments. I don't see any comments. So there's a comment. We need to get all China ICs out of USA. Yep. And start with Confucius Institutes. Remember, Google my name and Confucius Institutes, and you'll see that I was publishing about those since 2014. And especially 2015 I started, and heavily. And a lot of that was because of a former Army officer, Al Johnson. He flew to Bangkok and spent quite a lot of time educating me on certain things that I need to watch at. He's a veteran of Iraq War, by the way. And he flew in and we talked, and he, you know, I paid attention to him because he's obviously a serious man. And I studied more on some of the things that he put on my table. And one of those was Confucius Institutes. That's why you saw me way ahead of the curve on Confucius Institutes. It was because Al, it was because a former American Army officer tipped me off. And then I started paying attention, and that put me several years ahead of the curve on that, because he was right. Really right. And we need to get rid of those guys, get them out of the United States. The Aussies need to get them out. So please, I'm testing this right now, this YouTube channel. Please tell, as I walk through the Hong Kong streets, please tell people on your Facebooks and mine and Twitter that this is how we're going to start to do live feeds if I continue to have problems on Facebook. But as you can see, not many people even know we're here. And you can also see the streets are not filled with patriots right now because most of them are home. What time is it now? It's 0047. It's 13 minutes till 1 o'clock in the morning. It's still very safe because this is Hong Kong, but it might be not as safe for me because there's a lot of pro-Beijing people still as well. And they're very violent. Many of them are extremely violent, not well educated. You know, it's a pretty big sign. If they're pro-Beijing, they've either got something big on the table, they're making a lot of money or something, or they're really just very low education. You can see that. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm not just saying that out of prejudice. You can just come and see it for yourself, and you'll see what I mean. But look at Apple rolling over for Beijing. They're obviously incredibly well educated at Apple. But they're also deeply involved with Apple, with manufacturing in China, and huge market in China. It's interesting about Apple. You know, Apple, when it comes time to law enforcement activities in the United States, Apple has publicly balked at the FBI and whatnot for turning over information, which I actually agree with, because it will be misused by our government, just like it'll be misused by others. I have no question about that in my mind. But if anybody thinks that Apple products are being sold in China and manufactured in China, and China does not have a back door, they are deluded. There's no way China is going to let, you know, all these phones and tablets and whatnot be sold in China without a back door. They're just not going to do it. That doesn't make sense. Why would they do that? Seriously. When they can, either through clandestine means, insert methods to do it, or just through overt, you know, hey, Apple guy, here's 50 million bucks, you know, get us in the back door and you can get in the market or whatever. I mean, there's market pressures, there's many things they can do. So I mean, the idea that these Apple products are secure is a farce. It's a complete farce. They're not secure. There's no way they're secure. The fact that they're in the Chinese market is just like a massive red flag that you cannot ignore. Or like Synology NASes, you know what a NAS is, a network, a storage device that you can use for, you know, raids and that sort of thing, you know, that have to go through a server. Why does Synology have to go on a server, right? I mean, seriously, they're spying. That's what they do, because they know that information is power and money. So information is just frozen money. So let's see. Please do share this out to Twitter and whatnot. It looks like we're still going live. Nobody's thrown up any red flags. Wampa is heating up. I don't think I'm gonna go out there. It's I could make it, but let's see. I'm reading these comments. Chinese. Trying to read them anyway. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get in this light over here. Oh, let's see. They're fading away. Oh, there they are. Let me get in this light. Chinese have inserted tiny disappeared again. Actually, getting in light actually helps read it, even though it's backlit. Microchips into Apple products. Google it. NAS network attached storage. Yeah, they're you know, good. So we still got the audio going. And after 22 minutes. So apparently there's some action going on in Whampoa now. I'm not going to go out there. There's so many action spots here. You've seen how many I've already covered. That I've actually live streamed, over 70. That I've actually live streamed. And how many actual actions have I covered where they're shooting tear gas or rubber bullets or beating people? It's got to be well over 100. Got to be well over 100. Because sometimes there's, you know, that'll happen 10 times in one live stream. So it's got to be way, way over 100 where they're actually shooting gas and beating people, the police beating people and that sort of thing. So, you know, it doesn't make sense to chase battles. I see so many, and I'll probably see some tomorrow. But it's good to know what's, you know, I'll get back and check my, I'm going to have to jump in a taxi here and go where I wanted to go. But right now I'm still just checking the streets. It's pretty quiet, Shell Street. See, very quiet in this area of Hong Kong. All right, so it looks like we've gone. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them right now. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and shut off. And it looks like for tomorrow, we may have to go YouTube until we get our tech worked out and we can stream to multiple, restream to multiple platforms at once, such as Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, Periscope, YouTube, just many different ways to do it. See a comment came up. Let's see. Interviews with locals, you could do more. Okay, I will, definitely. Actually, we do quite a lot. Sometimes I just hand over the microphone or the camera and let them talk until they get tired of talking. And so that, because locals have more important and more informed things to say than I do, more informed about the local situation. My strength is more of I've done this for years in so many countries and studied it so much. And a strength of locals is just local knowledge and local moods and motivations and that sort of thing. So we have to team up to do this well. So, all right. Soon I will go offline. Maybe I'm not going to get that taxi. It's too quick. Some people waiting on buses. It's a bus stop. See the different buses. Starry, starry night. All right, I'm gonna sit down, see if there's any more questions. If not, I'm gonna shut it off. Have you looked into Tor routing around CCP networking? Are Patriots good video? Brooks asked about Tor. I mean, there's so many. I'm not in China actually, but you know, obviously there's so many ways that they can spy, and then not just they. I mean, there's Russians and Americans and British and the whole world spying, right? So it's not just, there's more than one 007 out there. Here's a linen wall across the street at Fortress Hill. But the main thing is, I mean, if we're gonna do things like live stream and use email, we're vulnerable. I mean, you're creating a vulnerability to you know, when you step on the battlefield, you're going to open yourself up while you take a shot. You can get shot, right? So there's many things that I do and others do to try to mitigate risk, but there's no way to completely stamp out risks. All right, I'm gonna go off. I'll scroll up one more time, see if there's any last questions. Let me see. Should I read it? What does that say? I'm trying to read that question. Let me stop here. Have you talked to any police in the private? See below how they feel to make sure you're connecting. I've talked with police at times, but I don't have close friends in the police. Not close enough that anybody would that would talk to me, especially if they saw what I'm publishing. Although there are, I'm told, quite a lot of police that wish they were not in uniform, but they stay in uniform for whatever personal reasons. Yeah, we're gonna go to live view soon. We're gonna be working on that tomorrow. It's already, Jerome actually has it. He's working on it tonight. He's working on it right now, actually. So it's not, you don't just, by the way, get the live view and just roll with it. I mean, there's still a lot of things that you have to decide and work out with whatever your particular system is. All right, so I'll go ahead and shut it off for now. And tomorrow, I'll do one test on Facebook again to see if it works for more than 12 minutes. And if it doesn't, we're definitely going to be on YouTube. And in any case, we'll soon be on YouTube as we do the multiple live streams to multiple platforms. Thank you, and have a good night. Now, how do I turn this off?